In this episode of OG55, I got Mr. Seymour Duck and George the Italiano with me today. We're talking Dana Walden versus Josh D'Amaro. It's looking like these are the top two contenders to succeed Bob Iger. A lot of talk in the town about both of these two. We're going to talk about it, who's in the lead, who's likely to win, up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We have a fantastic show with you today. We have the one, the only, Mr. Seymour Duck in the house with us. Seymour, it's always good having you on, brother.
Hello. Yes, thank you for having me by, and I love to nerd out with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck.
There he is. Make sure you follow this man on X. Fantastic insight. And he's great. Absolutely fantastic. So make sure you follow him on X.
Thank
you. George,
absolutely.
George, the Italiano. How have you been, man?
Doing good. You know, getting stuff ready for my second leg of the trip. And yeah, going good. Still fighting off this cold, but, you know, that nothing's going to, as Mickey says in Runaway Railway, nothing's going to stop us now. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll be fine, George. You're a young lad. You'll snap back, pretty quick.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. Where can they find you on social media, sir?
You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano, and of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. All right, let's talk about the succession. This is getting wild out there. This is courtesy of Variety. Who will replace Bob Iger at Disney? Dana Walden, co-chairman of Disney Entertainment, has a leading edge, according to nearly a dozen industry players, corporate rivals, and Disney sources who spoke with Variety. It says here that, let's set the table just a little bit here. In the ongoing battle for Disney CEO Bob Iger's job, a new report from Variety gives Disney Entertainment co-chairman Dana Walden a lead over Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro. Iger's current contract expires at the end of 2026, and Iger has repeatedly stated that succession planning is number one priority right now. A month ago, the Walt Disney Company board of directors named board member James P. Gorman to its chair succession planning committee as the battle for the top job heats up. It's looking like a two-horse race as far as internal candidates go. Seymour, I'm going to start with you, brother. What are your thoughts on this? I know we've talked a lot about it in the DMs and what have you, but how do you feel about this? Dana Walden versus Daddy Josh.
First thing I want to say is that I'd rather have an outsider to become a successor for Disney, but I know that's not going to happen. That's just me being hopeful. And everyone knows my top two picks, Tom and Kevin. So, yeah. I know they're not going to leave their companies. They're not those type of guys. But if Disney bought them out, I'm sure they would be willing to work with them. Money talks. But yeah, Dana Walden is a great pick. I'm sorry, Josh. But I don't want a Bob Chapek 2.0. And Dana, her track record lately has been very successful. With the Emmys right now, she won 36 of them for FX and Hulu. I mean, that's pretty good for just this year.
Yeah. No, she's crushing it. I mean, she's been more successful, I believe, in my opinion, than Josh has with his division. I think Dana has been much more successful in her division. And this is the thing, right? We're talk a lot about, quality over quantity. And with all those Emmy nominations, Dana's proving that, she has what it takes to produce a quality, quality products, right? The other thing too is when it comes to the race between Dana and Daddy Josh, look, the thing is, the elephant in the room, he's a theme park guy. And I know theme park people want him in there, but in this at this time right now, more than ever, you need a studio person in there. The studio Hollywood side of things is a rapidly changing landscape right now. And the last thing we need is a theme park person that's going to get a crash course in Hollywood like the year before he gets the job. I don't want that. I want someone who is more ingrained in the Hollywood culture and knows how to deal with a lot of these Hollywood personalities. I want someone who knows what they're doing. We already had a non-Hollywood person with Chapek try this before, and it was an absolute disaster. I don't want another ScarJo drama mess and all that other stuff. I know Josh is more charismatic than Chapek, but he doesn't have the Hollywood chops. You need the Hollywood chops to run a company like Disney. You know what I'm saying? The theme park landscape, I feel, is something that Dana could kind of acquire and learn about. I think that's an easier thing to sort of kind of catch up on while she's transitioning into the role. I think learning about Hollywood and these, these relationships in the industry and how this industry works and how fickle the personalities are in Hollywood, I think it's a much harder thing to learn in such a short amount of time. It's an uphill battle for Josh. It really is. Now, here's the thing. I'll be fair to Josh. I think his chances have improved a little bit since the Expo. I think Josh did an amazing job at the Expo. I think he did everything he had to do. He gave the fans concrete stuff. No what if. It's all concrete. He gave us timelines. When we got out of the Expo, George, I turned to you. I said, Josh delivered. He absolutely delivered. I know fans are upset about the Rivers of America and there's this whole thing, right? But look, he still provided a lot of announcements for us, and you're not going to like every single one of them. That's just the way life is, But with that said, despite the Expo and despite the fact I think he has made a little bit of ground out since then, I still think it's Dana Walden's to lose. What say you, Italiano? How do you feel about this? Dana versus Josh?
So I had mentioned it on our live last night that I too, believe that Tom Staggs and Kevin Meyer, I think, would be the perfect fit as like a dual CEO kind of role. I had touched upon that, it all arcing back from the very beginning of Walt and his brother Roy. Walt was the creative visionary, and Roy was the business financial advisor component to the company. So it's always best to kind of have that yin and yang, and then it worked very well with Eisner and Wells. And then when Wells, his untimely death, and then with Eisner going in for his bypass surgery and what have you, and then just the bad choice decisions with at the time when it was Euro Disney and everything. So, but there is a core magic moment that the company has gone through during the periods where there was a dual CEO compatibility.
Right, that dynamic.
A dynamic, yes. So that's where I feel like Tom and Kevin would be the perfect choice. However, if I had to just go by Walden and DeMauro, I would still lean more towards Dana Walden. I agree as well that DeMauro did crush it. I do believe he did very well during the parks presentation at the D23 fan event, but I don't believe that that's enough for him to be justified to take on the CEO role. And I feel like internally within the company in general, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, because they had recently announced abruptly out of nowhere Jennifer Lee is stepping down from her role as the head of animation, and Jared Bush is taking over. And I feel like the relevance between that, they are setting up the stage for when they do bring in a new CEO. All these people that are going to be ahead in their own rights, in their own piece of the Walt Disney Company, they're going to be compatible to then move the company moving forward. Because I feel like there was a time where they just said, okay, Jennifer Lee, she did a phenomenal job on Frozen and Frozen 2. Okay, that qualifies her to run the animation studio. I think it takes more than just having a successful one or two successful movies to run a studio. Now, you take someone like Pete Docter. He has had many film success, but he also has done a lot internally within Pixar. So I feel like that, Pete Docter is solidified
Some
with
people,
Pixar.
some people can do it and some people can't, right? Like for
Exactly.
example, our boy Tom Staggs, he was the chief financial officer at Disney for years. He was the head accountant essentially, and he got transferred over to be the parks guy,
Yep.
and then he went ahead and he crushed it as the parks guy. He had the I don't know. He was able to adapt very easily and be successful in both roles. Not everyone can do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy is another example.
Right.
She's a phenomenal producer, but she's not really great at running a studio. Pete Docter, he's a creative 100%, but he also knows he has enough of these chops where he can sort of manage as well. Some people can do it. Some people can't. Apparently Jennifer Lee, they weren't too happy with, well, I mean, we had Wish, which didn't do well.
Right.
Strange World didn't do well. But you bring up an interesting point, though, George. I wonder if internally they kind of know, like, who the candidate is. And I wonder if the candidate, let's say it's Dana Walden, and it hasn't been official yet, but she's like the one. And I wonder if she's sort of making these like, hey, I want her out, or I want her
because it's very funny how she was the representation for Walt Disney Animation at D23, but now all of a sudden, abruptly, it's, oh, I'm going to focus on Frozen 3 and Frozen 4. And that's all I really want to just focus on. I don't know. I think that there's more to that. And I think that stems into the new CEO role of the company itself. And even take Chapek, for instance. I mean, hate him or hate him, but it's like it's
hate him or hate him. You don't get too many different options there, George.
Yeah,
you hate him or hate him. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. But he was very good in consumer products. Like that was his niche, but put him in parks, that was not for him. Now, I will say a lot of people think that, him getting thrown into the wolves as CEO and what have you. But in the year 2020 aspect, I don't really think there could have been anybody else better to handle it at that time, because he had to be the fall guy.
Right.
He had to be the villain, because the unfortunate task that he had to take as just starting as CEO is budget cuts, because he had to, with these that all the companies had to do at this time, not just the Walt Disney Company.
Right, exactly. And it says here that Walden over tomorrow. This is interesting. The Variety report doesn't turn over any new leaves, but it does say that nearly a dozen, quote, industry players, corporate rivals, and Disney sources, end quote, said that Walden has the edge over tomorrow right now. Disney hasn't named any potential candidates, and even said as recently as last month that external candidates are being reviewed. Now, they are, but also I think, and you can correct me, Seymour, if I'm wrong, I think they're under a legal obligation to at least give lip service to that. They have to kind of go through the motions of, yes, we're entertaining external candidates, even if they're not like super serious about it. I think they are obligated, right? So that's a thing.
I'm always a huge fan of lip service. So
yeah, George loves it. Absolutely. Yeah, he loves lip service. It says here, that said, chatter has almost always been focused on the 4 division heads as the most likely candidates. The other 2 division heads, Jimmy Pitaro at ESPN and entertainment co-chair Alan Bergman, seem to be long shots at the moment. Now, here's the thing too. I think it should be Dana. If we're going to do internal candidates out of these 4, I think she's the one. She's got the studio chops. She's absolutely brilliant. And her division, she's managed it very well. But I wouldn't be opposed to, like, if she takes a CEO role and then they bring Josh in as like the president. I know that Disney hasn't had a president position for a while. I think the last time they did, I think Bob Iger actually filled the CEO and the president role. But I would love to see maybe Josh take over that president role. I think that would kind of be interesting, because it's not necessarily like a co-CEO dynamic, but at least you have a little bit of a check there. It's a little bit more of check on power, because he's like the number 2. Would you be opposed to that, Seymour, of having
No, I would not be opposed, and I think that's what should have happened with Bob Chapek. Actually, he would have been the president, and then you could have like the co-CEOs with Tom and Kevin. But yeah. I'm not opposed to it because parks are still important, right? So if you work closely with the CEO and ensure that the flywheel's working, I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, the elephant in the room, and no pun intended, GOP, the elephant in the room is Dana Walden is woke, and she's very woke, and a lot of people are very upset over how woke she is. I'll take this to you, Seymour, first.
Really quick, OG, really quick. I know that you want to discuss the elephant in the room, but you have to be careful because you don't want to make a jackass out of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to make a jackass. Exactly. Nice little Democrat joke, tied in nicely. Perfect. Well played, sir. Well played. But anyway, a lot of people are complaining, that Dana Walden is too far left and this, that, and the other. Here's my thing on that. And I said it last night in the live show with you fellas. She came from Fox, everybody. She came from Fox. She worked under Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch is not a crazy progressive, okay? And from what I know, and I'm willing to hear it out if the information is wrong or inaccurate, but from what I know, Rupert Murdoch enjoyed working with Dana Walden. So even though Dana is progressive or woke or whatever label you want to put on her, she clearly was able to do her job at Fox and do it well. And conservative Rupert Murdoch had no problem working with her. So I don't understand this whole thing where like we're demonizing her because she's a progressive. Number one, it's Hollywood, you guys. Anyone you pick from the Hollywood pool is going to be left leaning. This isn't like a new thing. This is not some Bob Iger conspiracy stuff. This is something that's been around for like literally ever. Okay, you think Michael Eisner was a Republican? No, he wasn't. Seymour, what do you think about Dana Walden and this whole political stuff?
I find it ludicrous because it happened to the same thing with Bob Chapek. And then it got reversed when Bob Iger came back, right? Everyone was all political with Bob Chapek. And then when he left, everyone hated him. They gave online, right? They were giving him hate, saying you're too political. And then he leaves. And they all wanted Bob Iger back. Say, come on, bring Bob Iger back. Bob Iger was the best CEO at that time. That's what they were saying. But then when he left and Bob Iger came back, they flipped the roles and said, oh, Bob Chapek wasn't actually not that bad. And they were saying Bob Iger's woke. He's destroying the company. It's like, what has he done that's very political that you can even say destroy the company? He's been the CEO for over 20 years. And now you're saying that in the last 2 years he's back as CEO. He destroyed the company? Huh? And then now you're doing the same thing with Dana. It's like, you're forgetting the past of what she was doing. She was the CEO of Fox Television Group, right? Fox Broadcasting Company, 20th Century Fox Television, Fox 21 Television Studios, and Fox Consumer Products. You didn't have an issue back then with Dana. Why do you have an issue now? They all came out of the woodwork and say, oh, we hate Dana Walden. You didn't hate Dana Walden before. Same thing with Bob Iger. You didn't hate Bob Iger before, but suddenly the last 2 years, you just hate them.
There definitely seems to be a pattern that when you showcase somebody into the spotlight that would take on a gretter role,
Disney in particular,
that it would then ruin their how do I put this delicately, grifting, that it creates a scenario to say, okay, so to keep up our ways, of how we get the clicks and how we, have this watched and how we get this viewed. It's like, okay, no matter who gets in, that they could have talked the world over because they're in a secondary type of role. But the second you put them in front center, then it's like, okay, now we have to create a narrative that this person, no matter what they do, no matter what decision they make, it's always going to be wrong. It's always going to be bad. They're the bad guy.
Yeah, no, it's big mouse bad 24/7, and that is the thing. And I'm just kind of tired of it. To be honest with you, I'm tired of hearing that Disney is too political, but then turn around and Elon Musk is basically campaigning on the platform he owns for Donald Trump. And that's fine. That's 100% okay. He can get as political as he wants because you know what? People who don't like Bob Iger for his politics agree with Elon Musk with his politics. So when you agree with Elon, it's fine if he gets political. Like, he runs a car company. So why don't people tell Elon to shut up about the politics and just run your car company? How come he doesn't get that? But Bob Iger does. Bud Light does. If you don't want the politics in these companies, then be consistent. Be consistent. You can agree with Elon Musk politically, but at least have the integrity to be honest and say, look, I criticize Bob Iger for getting political, and I'm going to criticize Elon Musk for getting political too. He runs a car company. There's no need for this politics. And I commend the conservatives that actually do that. The ones that are actually out there calling Elon Musk on his BS, and being consistent. But a lot of them don't. A lot of them are just, it's all about Bob Iger. Because it's not about getting the politics out of a lot of these companies. It's about getting the other side's politics out and putting your side's politics in. That's all it's about. Go ahead, Seymour.
I was going to say, that's too logical. It wouldn't work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's the same thing that I'm seeing now on X with Inside Out 2 and Agatha All Along, right? It's like, oh, it's woke. Disney's woke and Disney's not woke at the same time, and they cannot make up their minds of what's actually happening because they need to follow their narratives. They're grifting to their narratives just to ensure that it's intact, and they're trying to pretend like, what they're saying is the truth when it's not really.
Yeah, Disney's woke, and they're also getting rid of the woke. Well, what is it? Are they still woke, or are they getting rid of the woke? Like, what? You're absolutely right on that, Seymour. You're absolutely correct on that. And it's frustrating too with this Agatha stuff. It's like, I'm to the point with this stuff where it's like, if you don't like what Disney produces, then just stop with the cancel culture stuff. If you don't like what Disney produces, then move on and go to a different company that gives you what you want. Go to Universal, go to Warner Brothers, support them. I don't understand this obsession with every Disney Plus show that comes out and having to smear and bash it and hate on it. It's like, I don't spend that much time focusing on shit I don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Again, that's too logical.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, geez.
Because think about it. Bob Iger has been CEO for over 20 years. And if you didn't like what Bob Iger has been doing with the company over 20 years, you would think they would leave now. You don't like what Kathleen Kennedy has done with Star Wars, you would think you would leave now. No, you keep watching it and you keep spending their money at Disney.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense anymore. I don't understand it. And it's not about like, people will come back and be like, oh, you can't be critical. You can be critical. We're critical here all the time. We've been very critical of Josh Giamaro and a lot of decisions made at Disney. I hated She-Hulk. I absolutely hated that show. Mm-hmm. But if you consistently hate everything they do in the parks, the movies, the streaming, everything they do is terrible. At that point, are you even a fan anymore? Just go to another company and watch content from another company that suits you better. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. And I just don't understand it. What say you, the Italiano? What do you think about that, bro?
Oh yeah, it's a huge contradiction. Honestly, it's hypocritical. It's obnoxious. It's just downright tiring at this point. Where it's just when I say they, like the community and just people on social media in general are so hell bent on finding the negativity in everything. And when I say everything, I literally mean everything. When it comes to the films, when it comes to television, when it comes to streaming, when it comes to the parks, it's like no matter what, it is never enough for them. It's not good enough. But again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they really fully disagree with it. And that's where I go back with the grifting narrative. A lot of times they could agree with it, but they have to get their clicks. They have to make their bread and butter. So they have to kind of go with, what is the false narrative that's going out this week, depending on what the subject matter is. And it's like, okay, so we have to take this and create a false narrative or be negative about it just so we can get the clicks.
Well, when you have when you're selling a certain brand and look, a lot of people have been very successful in that. Very successful. I mean, the whole industry was made basically on hating Star Wars or going after Kennedy, you know, like it's very lucrative, you know, and when you kind of have been riding that gravy train for a long time, it's, you know, you don't want to give that up. You have to sort of maintain the anger, you know what I'm saying? So you have to sort of get out there and you know, kind of rile people up and say, hey, you know what, this show is woke, even though Heather, is there any evidence that Agatha is a woke show anyway? I don't know.
What's even woke? I mean, like sexy witches liking each other. What is woke?
Is sexy okay now?
I'm not trying to spoil it, right? But it's only 2 episodes. But I mean, like, if you're getting upset because there's a sexy witch, I mean, like, I don't know what to say. This is for an older group, right? It's not for kids. It's teen and up.
Right.
And like you see this in other studios all the time, this type of content. Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount. They're getting upset with Disney with this. I don't know. It's like the one movie again. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Did people have issues with Jessica Rabbit? Come on. I didn't hear nobody
actually, yeah. They actually do have a problem with Jessica Rabbit. The fact that she is not sexy in the Roger Rabbit cartoon spin. They put her in a trench coat.
Well, that's Disney's issue. Yeah, that's Disney's issue. But the people he's talking about, yeah, they don't.
No, but I'm saying, but they have a problem with that. They have a problem.
I see
they have a problem that they put a trench coat on her. Oh, because she's not showing her tits. It's like it's not Jessica Rabbit. Oh, but a sexy witch. Oh my God. God forbid.
Yeah, she's not showing her tits enough. Why did they cover her up on the dark ride at Disneyland, right? Oh, but we're gonna be super upset over this Agatha show. That's what I'm saying. I don't mind critique. I don't mind honest conversations about this, but when it feels like it's all over the fucking map, I just smell total bullshit and it drives me nuts.
And that's why I always say, when in doubt, show the tits.
There you go, right? That always works. But
yeah, sorry, grifters. I'm gonna keep watching the sexy witches.
But how are those draw lines though, Seymour? Are they looking pretty good? It's just crazy, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like, you know, people want sexy, then they get sexy, then the sexy's bad, and it's just, I'm exhausted. I can't keep up with it all. I really can't. But anyway,
I do want to say one thing.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler, but if you do like Disney Halloween, but a little bit more mature, I do recommend Agatha All Along. If you do like it, it might not be for everyone because it's not like a Marvel superhero TV series. But if you like the Disney Halloween, I really do recommend it.
Okay.
And actually, speaking about that, look how even people were giving it shit, even just with the title. Of how that they were kind of saying, oh, Disney can't make up their minds. First it was Agatha of Harkness, then it was titled for this and that. And then technically that was Disney's plan as a kind of a marketing promotion to actually get to the actual title. See, and that's where people don't give Disney credit enough. It's like they know what they're doing. Let them work. Let them stew. Before we jump into the conclusion to say, oh, Disney's screwing something else up again, let's wait and see how the final product is before you just come to... Again, you can have your opinion about it, but again, I can't give my full opinion on something until I actually experience it myself.
I completely agree. Even with the movie Wicked, right? Some people were giving bad reviews on it, and some backlash, or some people, for me, I'll wait for it till when I see it, and then I'll give my own review when I see it. Unfortunately, when other people say, even though I just said recommended Agatha, I recommend watching it for yourself so that you get your own opinion and not actually everyone else's opinion of it. And I agree with George, yes, because like even a lot of the reviews, I don't trust them anymore. I go online, they're either review bombed or even positively or negatively, right? It's never like what you want. So for me, if a movie or a show that I'm interested, I'll go watch it because I want to see it. And if I don't like it, then I won't see it again.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how normal people operate. If you don't like something, you don't watch it, and apparently that's not what happens anymore.
Yeah, I don't like. I said it many times on the show before, but I don't like House of the Dragon. It's not my cup of tea, and I don't watch it. I don't go out and say give hate to this show because what they're doing with it and the content they're writing. It's not for me, so I simply don't watch it. I don't give Warner Brothers Discovery my money to watch it, and that's what you're supposed to do. You know, when you go out and see a movie, if you don't want to go see a movie that you don't like, you don't want to see the sequel, you don't give them your money. So I'm not sure what's all this hate that keeps coming on, like saying that you want change and all this, but it's never going to happen. If you don't like it, go across the street. If you don't like the Disney parks, there is Universal.
100%. 100%, you know? Yeah, well said, Seymour. So to kind of wrap this conversation up, Dana versus Josh, I'll start with you, Seymour. So right now, if you were a betting man, you're looking at Dana.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dana. You need someone like in Hollywood and understands Hollywood in order to do this job. Yeah, Warren Buffett said like it's sometimes you need run a company so that any idiot can run it, or it might go down to the ground. Right? The park division, it feels like it can be run by any idiot. Mm-hmm. Because it's just everything's so well grounded already, so that if somebody comes in and ruins it, it doesn't happen. Like even Bob Chapek, right, came in, parks were doing perfectly fine, but the movie division, the streaming, not so much. And I think you need someone who can bring that to the next level, and I think that's what Dana Walden can do. Even like in D23 when Bob Chapek came in, he, everyone was booing him. Nobody liked him. It's like, I don't think you're going to get that in Hollywood coming in, getting all that, you need that like access of people, in Hollywood, all the actors and everyone. If you're being hated on, I don't think that's a good thing. And I think with Dana Walden, people like her. Even like we said, even the Murdochs like her. Like she has those connections. And I think that's what you need in a company.
Oh, 100%, Seymour, 100%. Hollywood is a very, like, you can't sit with us kind of industry. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that in real time with Bob Chapek. And I understand Josh is very charismatic, but he's not of Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's going to run into a lot of the same issues that Chapek did. And you're right. The parks can kind of run themselves in a lot of ways, Seymour. You're absolutely correct on that. The studio is way more volatile, especially right now with streaming and everything like that. They need someone in there that knows what they're doing.
And it's studio first. It has to be studio first. So you need someone who knows that so it can segue into the park. See, if you start off with someone who is just, I don't want to say committed, but like someone that is just honed into the parks and then making the studio secondary, that's where it feels like the cogs just like leave the wheel, because that's not how the Walt Disney Company was founded. That's not how it operates. It is a studio first that runs theme parks. It is not vice versa.
The real heartbeat of this company was, is, and will always be the film business.
You heard it yourself, everybody. It is. It's the heartbeat of the entire flywheel is a studio. If you don't have good IP, good characters, good stories, good movies, good shows coming out of the studio, what are you going to put in your theme parks? Like, you need the studio. It's the lifeblood of the whole thing, the whole operation. You lose that, the whole thing falls apart. It was the Disney Renaissance that really catapulted Disney as a company, because once they got the heartbeat down with the good movies, then everything else sort of fell into place. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's 100% a studio first. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, my money's on Dana. You never know. I mean, Iger and the board, they might come in with some surprises. Maybe we'll get what we want. Maybe it'll be Tom Staggs and Kevin Meyer, and we'll be like, whoa, I don't think so. I think we're getting Dana. We might get a president role, though. I think there might be a president position.
It would be interesting.
I have a feeling they might do something like that. And that might take a little pressure off of Dana too, by the way, because then she has like a number two and,
That would help. Yeah. I think if they have some sort of number two status, whether it's a co-CEO or president, that would definitely help. But I agree with both of you. My money's on Dana too. Like straight from my wallet right to the cleavage. Like that's just
There you go, right there, George, right there. No raincoat, detective coat, just like
just let it all hang on.
There you go. The Italiano. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There he is. And Mr. Seymour Duck. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, Seymour.
Yeah, you can find me on X at Mr. Seymour Duck, where lately I've been making some spicy memes. Yes,
you have. And you're good at them, bro. You're good at them. Really, really good at them. Make sure you follow this man on X. You will not be disappointed. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG 55. Comment down below with all your thoughts on Dana Walden, Josh Giamaro, Tom Stagg, Kevin Meyer, whatever's on your mind with this Disney CEO succession. It's really heating up. I think we're going to start hearing some news pretty soon. There you go, George. There you go. I think Dana does it better though. Sorry, bro.
I think so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and until the next time.